Hi, welcome to Learn English and Practice with Marie. Today we're going to do American English Idioms lesson number 50. We'll go through 5 idioms and review their meanings, a couple of sentence examples, and we'll do a little story at the end so you can hear the idioms in context. This is a series, so if you like this video, subscribe for more. Let's get started. First, I'll read the idioms. A perfect storm. When it rains, it pours. Scapegoat. Jack of all trades. Tongue-in-cheek. A perfect storm. This means the worst possible situation. So here we're not referring to a major weather event. We're not referring to a thunderstorm or a hurricane. Rather, we are referring to an extreme situation where all sorts of factors came together to make the situation particularly challenging or problematic. So take, for example, a situation where a single mother, has to go into the doctor's office for an appointment, and her child's school is closed that day. It's a holiday. The daycare is closed, and the babysitter is sick. So under all those circumstances, she's going to have a really challenging time. It's a perfect storm. None of her typical supports are available. Examples are, the financial crisis was a perfect storm of bad decisions. It was a perfect storm of events that led to the project's failure. When it rains, it pours. This means when one thing goes wrong, everything else goes wrong too. So another weather-related idiom. When it's raining, even just a few drops, those few drops can turn into a really, really heavy rain. And we say it's pouring rain when the rain is extremely heavy. Here we're not talking about rain, but rather we're applying that concept to the fact that when something small goes wrong, more and more and more is going to go wrong, and it's going to be a really bad situation. So take, for example, a situation where a student is late in submitting a paper to their instructor. That happens, and then the professor gives an extension, and then the student's internet goes out, and then the student gets assigned additional work and fails to do that. And before you know it, the student is now struggling in a bunch of classes and failing. So with that one sort of shortcoming or challenge, more bad things are going to happen. When it rains, it pours. Bad things kind of come together. Examples are, first I lost my job and then my car broke down. When it rains, it pours. The company faced multiple issues at once, showing that when it rains, it pours. Scapegoat. This is a person who is blamed for the mistakes of others. So the scapegoat has nothing to do with goats, nothing to do with the animal. Rather, it's someone who is going to shoulder the blame and sort of shield others from that blame. And sometimes the scapegoat is not voluntarily taking on that position. Take, for example, in families with multiple children, a lot of times the oldest child ends up being the scapegoat. They shoulder the blame for whatever bad decisions all the children made. It's the oldest's fault. Examples are, it's unfair to make him the scapegoat for the mistake. They made her the scapegoat for the missing funds. Jack of all trades. This means someone who can do many different jobs. So a jack of all trades might be talented in many different things. Take, for example, a person who can do carpentry. They can fix their own plumbing. They're an artist, a musician. They have an accounting degree. There's all these different skills, and that person would be considered a jack of all trades. However, there's an additional part to the saying that's sometimes used, and it's the idea that someone can be a jack of all trades, master of none. So someone who can do many different things sometimes lacks the depth of talent to be a master at one particular trade. So kind of an interesting thing we say in American English. Examples are, he's a jack of all trades, skilled in many areas. As a jack of all trades, he can fix anything around the house. Tongue-in-cheek. This means joking or not serious. So to say something tongue-in-cheek is to say it lightheartedly, to almost tease or make these sort of lighter comments. Sometimes when people say things tongue-in-cheek, they're venturing into slightly edgy territory. Take, for example, a situation where a girl walks into a party and the host says, "Oh, I bet you're going to get a date tonight. Look at you." You know, that might have been said tongue-in-cheek, kind of teasingly and jokingly, but sometimes when things are said tongue-in-cheek, it's hard to interpret that it is a joke. Examples are, his comment was meant to be tongue-in-cheek. The article was written in a tongue-in-cheek style. So let's read a story so we can hear these idioms in context. The Johnsons' family road trip was supposed to be relaxing, but it turned into a perfect storm of bad luck. First, their car broke down in the middle of nowhere. Then, a sudden rainstorm soaked all their luggage as they waited for a tow truck. "Well, when it rains, it pours," Mr. Johnson said with a sigh. To make things worse, the youngest, Emily, was blamed for forgetting to pack the raincoats. "Why am I always the scapegoat?" she grumbled, crossing her arms. Luckily, Mr. Johnson was a jack of all trades. While they waited, he managed to patch the car just enough to get them to the nearest motel. "Who needs a mechanic when you've got me?" he said, his tone half serious, half tongue-in-cheek. Despite everything, they laughed, realizing that even in tough times, they still had each other. So, I'll read the idioms one more time. A perfect storm, when it rains, it pours, scapegoat, jack of all trades, tongue-in-cheek. Great job today. There are other videos like this on this channel, and more are coming soon. I'll put playlists and videos right here, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!